The server is responsible for keeping the contents of a web app, which consists of web pages and the other resources that a web page contains, like images, audio, videos, etc. The server can also first manipulate a web page, changing the content on that particular web page before sending it to the client device's browser. Moreover, the server stores all input from the user that needs to be available across devices. Today, we will look at this in more detail. Let's recap what we learned last time. The client side of a web app consists of web pages and other resources that those web pages use, all these having unique identifiers or URLs that allow a browser to identify and fetch them from a server. Furthermore, the web pages, after being downloaded and loaded into the browser, can send and receive content to and from the server when things like user interaction take place. Now let's look at the server side. The server is responsible for keeping the resources that make up the website or web app. This includes web pages and other resources like images and audio, etc., and then sending them to a client device's browser whenever the client device browser requests them. Moreover, more so in the case of a web app or interactive website, the server can manipulate the web pages before sending them to the browser. The server is also responsible for receiving other requests from a web page that is already loaded on the browser when the web page needs more content like text or multimedia resources. And lastly, the server even stores content that is sent by the client through the web page. This content could be files or even text, like when you comment on a social media post, for instance. The files are usually stored in a folder in the server, while the text is usually stored in a database on the server. We will cover the database at a later stage when we start getting our hands dirty with code. All the stored content from the users can be later requested by the user or by other users that are also using the web app. So in summary, the server keeps all the content that the client browser will need to load and display a functioning web page. Moreover, it also receives further requests from a web page that is already loaded when the page wants more content. Finally, the server can also receive and store user content, which can be later requested by the user or other users who use the web app. And that brings us to the end of our lesson. Next up, we will start diving into the client-side programming and actually start creating websites and web apps. You can watch other tutorials over here, and most importantly, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so that you don't miss out on tutorials as they come out. Have you subscribed? Are you done? Okay, cool.